So, welcome to this sixth session on mentoring, and you remember that we started discussing about the concept of mentoring and how it is carried out and what is the entire process to implement the mentoring. Now, what we are going to discuss some of the important issues related to mentoring, and one of the important issues that we are going to discuss is that if you want to make a mentoring program very effective and successful, and then you have to see that how to develop good relationship between mentor and mentees. The entire process you remember we talked about regarding identifying the mentors, mentees, matching them, and then looking at the expectations and then again matching that. All this is related to what we call building a mentoring relationship. So, this relationship is very important to carry out the process effectively. So, that mentor and mentees both are developed, right. So, what we are going to discuss here is that how do we go about developing a good relationship in the mentoring, what are the different kind of a relationship that can be developed, what are the factors which are going to affect this relationship, right. So, we start the discussion about discussing about the different type of mentoring relationship. Now, if you look at a different type of mentoring relationship, it could be classified into depending upon whether it is structured or not unstructured, and similarly whether this relationship is going to be end very soon or it is going to continue for a longer period of time, right. So, on these two dimensions we are going to define this types of mentoring relationship, and in the process we can have structured short term relationship. It means it is going to be something kind of what you call a orientation program in the organization, structured short term. So, when we are going to talk about structured short term, it means that it is going to be there for few days and maybe it is given to all new employees who join the organization, right. So, all new employees or new graduates who come to the industry. So, they need to be acquainted with, they need to be familiar with the systems, structure and process of the organization, and that is why we allow or go for this kind of mentoring relationship. So, that you come to know your supervisor, your colleagues and these kind of things, right. So, this is structured, but it is in the short term, right. It means it is not going to benefit them in the long run, it is basically for understanding of the structure, systems and processes. So, that you also know about your supervisor and others with whom you are going to have a long term relationship and work in the near future. So, the second one is structured and it is going to be in the long term, right. This is more important for the industry perspective, because you are going to develop personally and professionally those people who are going to take higher positions or senior positions in the hierarchy in the long term. So, for them you are going to develop a mentoring program to train and educate them, so that they can take senior positions in the organization. The idea here is that you become them make sure that they become an expert in whatever they are doing, so that they can take senior positions in that particular specialization or area of functions. So, the idea is that you are going to maintain long term relationship in the process, and it is going to be a very structured program, maybe 6 months, maybe 1 year, and for 1 year you are going to continue groom him, mentor him, and then you also follow it up, monitor all the activities that he does, and then you see that whether the person is in a position to take higher positions or not, right. So, this is what we call a structured long term, and here you go for a formal mentoring, where you allow a person to be mentored depending upon his capabilities, and you look at his potential and see whether he has growth of potentials or not, and if you find that the person has the growth potential, then you go for this kind of formal structured mentoring program, right. Moving to unstructured, it could also be there, or informal in the sense that the person is going to decide about who is going to be his mentor. So, the mentee himself decides about the mentor, right. So, you make a brief content with a senior person or supervisor or any person in the organization who is going to help you in the initial days, right, in the short term, right. Okay. So, you have a brief contact, but the intervention here is very strong. So, that it has a impact on the individual so far as his growth and development is concerned. And in the early days, it is very, very important, because you find someone who is going to take care of you, to make sure that you are able to establish yourself in the organization, so that you can grow and develop, right. Then finally, we have informal long term relationship. It is basically like you find somebody who is going to act as your coach, advisor, friend, something like that. So, if you look at this informal long term mentoring process, you will find it is something like friendship. So, you develop friendship over a period of time to a senior person who is going to help you, and who is always available to listen and advise for your growth and development, right. So, if you look at this type of mentoring relationship, you can have either formal or informal. Formal means that organization is going to provide you a mentor, and informal you are going to select a mentor, and if so far as tenure is concerned, it could be either short term or long term, right. So, most of the organizations go for structured short term and also structured long term, depending upon their requirement. And if people or employee feel that they need to get some advice from seniors, then they also go for informal mentoring. So, the initiative here is taken by the individual in case of informal mentoring, and initiative is taken by the organization in case of formal mentoring. Now, what is more important is to talk about formal mentoring, because that is more structured and organized, where the initiative is taken by the organization. So, the length is maybe up to 1 year, because it is very, very important to monitor and follow it up the activities of the mentee to ensure his growth and development. So, most of the formal structured mentoring program may go up to 1 year, okay, or even more some time. So, it may vary from 6 months to 12 months time. Sometimes it is specified as 12 months for as an example, but not necessary that it is going to be 12 months. It may vary from 6 to 12 months, or sometimes even go more, depending upon the requirement of the organization. Now, the idea here is this kind of formal mentoring is to see that those who are in the beginning of their career, they can grow, they can be groomed, they can be developed over a period of time to take senior positions, as I discussed with you. So, the purpose of this program is to help early career people, right. Those who have just started career, but they have the talent, okay, and the competency, and they need to be developed, okay. And this actually is done to ensure the talent development, organizational development activities, so that people stay with the organization and can grow with them, and their career and progression is assured. And that is why most of the organizations go for this kind of program, by selecting a few who need to be mentored to take what you call a senior level position in the organization. Then the people who are going to be their early career, they need to establish and develop themselves. So, the first stage in the career, you know, that they need to establish themselves. They need to prove their worth in the organization by doing what they know. So, at the first stage, after they join a job, it is very, very important for them to establish their worth, and once they are able to establish their worth and they show capability, they have the potential, then it is seen that how they can be developed, right. So, it is very important to see that how can they develop their career. Now, this kind of program, say though it is announced and then you go for it, market it, you can meeting with the various departments, okay, to ensure that you get some good mentees. The participation is voluntary in the sense that the mentors should come forward, and then organization is going to allot them a mentor who is going to be responsible for personal and professional growth. But you do not force somebody to come and join this program as a mentee, a protege for the growth and development, right. The idea is that when you go for this kind of program, so once you have the people come forward to decide to become a mentee, then you see that who is going to be allotted to him as a mentor. So, accordingly you also identify a mentor, and then you match the requirements, look at the mutual expectations, look at the qualification experience of both the people, and see whether there is a compatibility or not between the two. So, that if you are able to better match, probably the kind of relationship that they are going to have would be long term, right. It is going to be very fruitful relationship. Similarly, what is expected from the participants when it comes to matching, and that you have to see the interest of the mentors as well as mentees, look at the demographic profiles. Okay. It means there is age, gender, race, culture and all kind of things, and then you also look at the kind of experiences they have. So, this is to be matched for both the mentors and mentees in order to see that the relationship continues for a longer period, right. So, moving to this formal mentoring program, again we will look into that what is to be done, right. So, you go for developmental networks. So, you need to advocate developmental networks in order to ensure that the relationship continues, and then it also to see that how the development is going to happen in a formal mentoring program, right. So, similarly, you also need to see that this kind of in this kind of mentoring program, since it is structured and it is for a particular duration, once the task of mentoring is complete, the program should end, okay, on a satisfactory note for both mentors as well as mentees in terms of the growth and development, in terms of their satisfaction and other things, right. So, we are going to see, if you remember that once the relationship between the mentor and mentoring ends, though it may continue informally, but formally this kind of relationship should end, so that it is not going to be dysfunctional, because if you are going to continue in the long run, it is not going to be very effective. So, you have to ensure that the period and the structure for which this has been done, okay, once this tenure is over, this should be finished. It means they should come to an end to this relationship, though they may continue informally, but they should not formally do it, right. Because if they are going to continue even after the tenure, there is a possibility of becoming it dysfunctional, and this is not going to be good for either the mentor and the mentees, because the mentor continues to develop him or think about the mentees, and the mentees continues to think about the mentor all the time for his growth and development. So, wherever there is any problem, he will continue to run to the mentor. So, this kind of situation should be avoided. So, it does, so that it does not become dysfunctional, right. And then you also need to evaluate this program on certain criteria. You remember we talked about in terms of processes, in terms of outcome, right, of this relationship process, relationship of the program, relationship of the process, and also ultimately the outcome of this mentoring program, and that is how we are going to evaluate the formal mentoring program, right. Sometimes it is seen that the informal mentoring is more powerful and effective compared to a formal mentoring program. There could be several reasons for that, because in informal mentoring, it is a natural choice between the mentors and the mentees. Okay. So, somebody who is a senior experienced professional, he picks up someone looking at his growth potential and then try to mentor him, right. So, if that happens and the needs and expectations, the interest matches, then there is a possibility then the growth and development happens, and this relationship becomes much stronger, the process and outcome evaluations are better, and even the mentoring outcomes may be better. But when you are going to be forced into a relationship, or when they go for matching and then you get into a relationship in a formal way, there is a possibility of becoming it dysfunctional if the expectations and the needs are not met, right. So, that is to be avoided, right. So, what we have discussed so far is the mentoring and the type of mentoring relationship, both formal and informal, and what are the benefits of going for a formal mentoring cycle. Now, if you look at this mentoring cycle, formal mentoring cycle, what happens at different stages. Okay. So, now you start with the first stage. Okay. First stage where you go for going into a mentoring relationship, and then here basically you go for see that whether this mentoring relationship is going to add some kind of value to your competencies, your knowledge and skill, whether it is going to help you in the career or not. So, these kind of needs and expectations are there from the mentors, okay? And you always think in terms of return on investment. So, return on investment means that if you are going to invest into this kind of relationship in a mentoring program and you want to learn something, then how it is going to impact and add value to you personally and professionally, right. So, this is the first stage, and from there we move to the next stage, that is creation, and at this stage basically what happens? You get into the relationship, you try to build up this good relationship based on respect, trust, confidence and these kind of things, so that this relationship moves further, right. And then what happens the mentor starts helping the mentees in the growth process. Okay. So, he goes for some kind of experimentation to ensure that whether the mentee is really capable to do it or not. Okay. So, that is what is known as the pilot stage, where the mentor is going to test the competence, the skill and other things related to the mentees, whether he would be able to sail through or not. So, what is very important at this stage is that you need to calibrate the employees or the mentee by the mentor, so that he is able to move ahead, because this is the stage where you are going to assess the strength and weaknesses of the employee. You are also going to assess his growth potential, his you can go for potential appraisal, you can use assessment centers or other feedback say sources to see whether this employee is really capable of moving ahead in the career or not, whether this employee can really grow and develop. So, you can go for even potential appraisal. Okay. So, these kind of things can be done by the mentor in order to ensure that the person is moving to the path of the growth and development. And then at the fourth stage, that the skill stage, both of them work together, they meet very frequently, they decide what needs to be done with the help and advice of the mentors, and then they try to move ahead, right. So, this is the time that you think about his growth and development by your commitment, engagement and resources, so that the person is able to move ahead, and ultimately the last stage you make sure that it happens. Okay. So, now if you look at this stage here, this is the time frame, up to here there is no problem, but sometimes what happens, instead of moving up you go down, and that is where the relationship becomes dysfunctional. So, in a long term formal mentoring relationship, you need to ensure that there is a continuous engagement commitment from both sides, both the parties, mentors as well as mentees, so that they can continue to grow and develop, and see that this relationship is managed well, managed effectively for the growth and development of the mentees. So, if you look at this, you can find out that there is a formal mentoring cycle, and the mentor has to go through these stages, and sometimes if it becomes dysfunctional at a particular stage, then this relationship ends, okay, and the growth and development will not happen, right. Then from this you see that how we move ahead, okay. If you look how we progress. So, to start with, what happens at the first stage, we try to, once you get into a relation say mentoring program, the first stage to basically building the relationship. Then you go for negotiating agreements, okay, what is to be done, how it is to be done, and all kind of things. Then you have the responsibility to develop the mentees, okay, and ultimately you go for ending the relationship. Okay. If you look at number 3 and number 4 are determined only when 2 is accomplished. If you are not able to engage and negotiate agreements, probably 3 and 4 cannot be achieved. So, it is very important to develop good relationship and based on trust and mutual trust and confidence and respect for each other. Then you negotiate agreements, we will talk about it, and then you have to see that how the mentees can be developed depending upon the interest, need, expectations and capabilities, and once he is developed, then you go for ending the relationship, right. So, we are going to discuss that. These are the relationship. R is building relationship, D is settling direction, then you progress, then the relationship gets matured, right, over a period of time, and then you go for ending the relationship, right. And this is the intensity of relationship. This may go up depending upon intensity of relationship. So, also follow the learning principle, that is there is a limit to that, and once this limit is achieved, then the maturation happens, okay, and beyond that, if you move ahead, that is not possible, then you go down. Okay. So, after this, actually you should decide to go for ending the relationship in a formal manner, right. So, that is these are the different phases. So, you can see here what happens at different stages, okay, and what are the things that is required at different stages. Okay. At the first stage, what happens? Okay, you are going to identify mentors and mentees, mentors and partners. So, you are going to select them based upon their interest and all kind of things, and here these are the things that need to be looked into, right, like their interest, needs, expectations, all kind of things, okay, so that they come together, okay, to form a group. Okay. So, all kind of demographic, personal and professional things are looked into this, and then you move to this relationship matching, and this relationship matching is very very important, because if you are not able to match the relationship between the mentor and mentee, if there is a level of compatibility is not at a accepted level, then things may not be in a productive way, right. So, this is very important. Then you basically identify the roles of the mentors and mentees both. Okay. How do you carry this relationship? Okay. How frequently you are going to meet, how you are going to communicate, okay. And then what are the roles and responsibilities of the both the mentors and mentees, okay. And what needs to be done in terms of transferring knowledge and skill from the mentors to the mentees. Okay. And then after this you move to the next stage, right. You go for follow up monitoring, what is happening, and this could be done by the mentoring coordinators, right. Okay. And then if you find that yes, it is going on as expected and he has learned, so then you are going to conclude this partnership. It means if you look at this, it shows about 6 month time, which is the long term for having a mentoring program, right. So, after 6 months you go for assessment, and then you can go for renegotiating everything if it is not working well, right. So, this is the process cycle which needs to be taken up now. This is the mentors map. What do you mean by mentors map? It means this is what is expected from the mentors in terms of discharging their roles and responsibilities, right. These are the 4 important characteristics or traits you can say which is required, that is listen, understand, listen, understand. What does it mean? That this needs to be done continuously. When you say listen, understand, means that you have to be very empathetic when it comes to listening, so that you can understand his feelings, right. Similarly, you have to when it comes to understanding, that you have to comprehend that okay, what is his problem, how it can be solved, right. What are the issues, then you are going if he is doing something, then you are going to provide feedback, then you are going to decide your role as a facilitator, okay, and then you are supposed to answer questions that is posed by him. Okay. Similarly, you are going to clarify the thinking, and that is possible when if you continuously listen and understand to the individual, okay, right. That is very important. And then you have to see that how you are going to contribute. The contribution from the mentor comes from giving ideas, sharing experiences, and ask him to explore alternatives. You remember we talked about 2 different models, sponsored model and development model. So, here we are using development model, where you facilitate the process and allow mentor to explore ideas. You do not explore ideas. Your task is to provide certain ideas, and then you ask him to explore those ideas in order to be successful, right. In the process, you can share your experiences to see that how you had done these things when there was a crisis, what you did, right. How did you grow and develop yourself? So, you can share your experiences, that probably provide him some input for the growth and development. And then once you give this input, you ask him to go for it, push for action, that is very important, right. So, you give him everything that is required, and then you ask him to do whatever is to be done by him, okay. And then he should take the ownership. Instead of mentors taking the ownership of doing the job, it should be the mentee who should take ownership and responsibility for performance, right. And in the process, he is going to facilitate your learning and see to it that you grow and develop, right. So, the role of mentor is very important, and that happens only if you continuously go through the cycle of listening and understanding to clarify certain roles related to various issues. So, what we are going to discuss is the mentor's responsibility, as we have talked a lot about it. It means you have to devote time, that is very important, meet frequently. You need to identify goals and objectives which are going to be very realistic, and you also need to achieve development plan which can be achieved by the mentees. So, this is the responsibility. In consultation with the mentees, he is going to talk about it. Listen to him, having an open minded, whatever the mentees comes out with in terms of his ideas, opinion, and then you give your feedback, okay, whether it is good or not, whether it can be explored or not, and then you can share your experiences, as I was telling. So, these are some of the mentor's responsibilities, very important to see that, right. And then you need to develop a relationship, establish a good rapport, so that there could be open interaction. he should not have any fear when he comes to you and asks certain questions, right. It is very, very important. He should be very, so you need to create an environment, an enabling environment where he can express his opinions, he expresses voice, he can express his concern related to certain issues which he has in mind. That is very, very important in a mentoring relationship. And then you offer him ideas which are challenging in nature, okay, and share your growth experiences. So, and that give him an input to work on it, right. Similarly, you also encourage him to behave in a very professionally manner. Do not tell him that you are going to favor him, do not tell that you are going to do something for him. You tell that if you do it professionally, probably it will be good, and never, and if there is any kind of negative intention or attitude on the part of say the mentees asking for any kind of favor or subjectiveness, then that is to be avoided by the mentors, because if you are going for that, probably mentor would not be able to learn in the process, okay, and he would always look for favor and these kind of things. So, mentors are not there to provide favors, mentors are there to facilitate your growth and developments in a very objective way, in a very professional way, and that needs to be maintained at all levels, right. So, and in the process, your role is to share your critical knowledge, insights into the realities of the organization, relate to anything that is happening in the organization. So, you are going to share your experiences as a senior, and probably that would help him to realize and do whatever is required. So, apart from mentor, you also have certain responsibilities from the mentees, right. That is very, very important. And when we are talking about mentees responsibilities, that it is not the mentor who is responsible for your growth, but it is you who are responsible for your growth and development. The mentor is going to only facilitate by sharing his critical knowledge, his experiences, and providing a roadmap, setting goals and objectives which can be achieved by you. So, as a mentee, you should be responsible, you should be able to create your goals and objectives, and the most important thing that you need to be focused on that. If you are not focused, probably will not be able to do it, even if the mentor wants it and if he is sharing his experiences, right. Similarly, you need to go for challenging assignments, more responsibilities, new experiences, and always look for opportunities where you can learn new things, okay. And this kind of things can be provided by the mentor, but ultimately you have to take up the assignments, responsibilities, and these opportunities, okay. So, if you are looking for these kind of things, probably mentor will also be happy that yes, you are interested in learning and growing yourself. And finally, you have to cultivate the mentoring relationship, and since this relationship is based on trust and respect, you also need to be maintaining it. And one thing that can be said that yes, both of them are equally responsible to maintain this relationship, so that it does not become dysfunctional, right. And if you have any problems, you can communicate, and even if you have some solutions to these problems, that you can also communicate or share with your mentors for growth, right. And you have to always be receptive to feedback and any constructive criticism that is given by the mentors. So, should be open to it. You should not defend it, but you should try to take it in a very positive spirit, so that you can work out, right. And the most important thing, that whatever goes on is discussed between you and the mentor, you make it confidential, okay. It is very, very important. He might be sharing certain things, okay, which may be confidential information with you. So, you need to maintain those confidentiality in the process, right. Similarly, if you are saying something to the mentor about your supervisor, your colleagues or peers, even the mentor is supposed to maintain that confidentiality, right. So, these are some of the questions that could be asked, okay. Why should I participate in the process? Whether I have the knowledge and experience that I can share with the mentees, right. These are questions for the mentors. What I expect from the mentors, because all these questions, if you have the right kind of answers, probably that would help you to come forward and act as a mentor, right. And whether you have time, whether you can support and commitment or not. Similarly, there are questions for the mentees as well, right. What are your expectations from the mentees program? That is very, very important, okay, for moving ahead. What are your career goals and expectations in the short term and the long term, and do you think that this kind of activity is going to help you in the process or not, to achieving your goals in terms of personal and professional growth. Similarly, you have it is to be seen that whether you have taken any initiative, proactive, are you proactive in the process in terms of increasing your knowledge and skill base or not. So, if you have not done your thing and you think that your mentor will do everything, then it is not possible. You need to be proactive, and actively participate in the process even before a formal mentoring program starts for you. Okay. And then you have to see that what are your expectations in terms of adding value to your knowledge and skill base from the mentors. Okay. That is all. Thank you very much.